Okay, so my Bauer saw here, the LED comes on, but you can't see the shadow line anymore. So I was trying to figure out what the problem was. I wasn't 100% sure, so I went ahead, took the saw apart. It's 2 screws on the top to pull the handle off, 3 more screws on the top housing, and then 6 screws under the bottom housing. Now, if you don't want to take this all apart, you probably could get away with just soldering in the LED with it hanging, but I preferred to go ahead and take it apart and just to see for sure what was wrong and how this thing was all hooked together. So when you get those screws off, you flip that housing up, and your power switch to the LED is connected to the bottom of the housing there. So then you have this little screw on the front. This is the screw that actually holds the little LED in, and then there's that little plastic piece that kind of covers up the wire. The wire just kind of is tucked up on the side, goes through the hole right there. However, on the top, the ground wire is connected straight to the ground off the little circuit board, and then the positive wire is going up to the switch. So there's your little circuit board right there. That's the AC to DC power inverter. Now the peculiar thing about it is if you follow the wires up, the white and black one goes right up to where the plug is. And so this thing, if the saw is plugged in, is energized. So this is on 24/7 if the saw is plugged in. As you can see here, it's a 3.8 by 0.44 watt power supply. So that's really the size LED you should get to replace, since that's what the power supply is. But anyway, I went ahead and I had to cut the connectors off. I could have fished it through those little holes, but those little holes are kind of tight. And then sometimes, just a bad connection can cause a low voltage problem. And didn't want to take a chance of me fighting, trying to find out a problem just to come back and find out that it was a loose connection. So I just went ahead and cut the connectors off, made the wire pull out nice and easy. And so you just pull that one little screw there out, and the little housing comes apart. Then you can pull your lens off, and now you've got your 20 millimeter star, heat sink, driver board, whatever you want to call it, connected to the little LED. So I went over here to the saw and set it up onto the saw. So I've cut the switch out, I've just got the LED, and basically I stripped the wires down. Now this is DC voltage, so it ain't gonna hurt me to touch the wires. But as you can see, the LED's coming on, and you can see kind of how bright it is right there. So I went and I got these. These are a super cool white 20,000 to 25,000 Kelvin. They're actually a 3.2 to 3.4 volt, even though that power supply is a 3.8 volt, and they're a 1 watt power. I was thinking the 1 watt power, even though it's running at under 1 watt, would probably just make them not as bright. But I mean, you see right here where I just went in here and touched these wires. So, and I mean, that's a significant difference between the brightness of this and the other one, the one that was in from the factory. So I decided that the power supply was good. If the power supply had been bad, I was going to replace it. But, so it seems like this power supply is still good. And so I just went over here. You see me, I just add a little extra solder onto the LED. It already had a little where it was already soldered onto the board. And, I was having a hard time kind of holding it, so I just threw a little piece of double-sided tape here on my table and stuck it down there. Added another little dab of solder straight to the LED board, put the wire on top of it, heat it up, and just kind of let it melt together. Worked out really good getting this thing soldered in. So once I had the wire soldered on, then it was time to go put it back into the saw. Alright, so now that I got the wires soldered back here on this little LED, all I got to do is put it back in the little reflector, and then install everything back in and put the saw back together. So I went ahead and I soldered in the ground wire, put a little waterproof connector on it. Doesn't have to be a waterproof connector, but I did. And then I clamped on a couple of, I actually tinned the wires, and then I put just a little connector on it to connect into the switch. So you can see me here testing it all. So anyway, I had contacted Harbor Freight a while back about this, and the CSR pulled it up in the computer. He says other people have contacted them about this LED, that they didn't carry it, that they would try to get them in, and they would call me in a couple weeks and let me know if they got it in, if I still wanted it. As of right now, they still have not contacted me back, so I don't know if they're going to contact me back or not. These LEDs, I think I paid about $7 for 10 of them. It was 70 cents. It was more just a pain in the butt having to take the saw apart and try to figure out why it was, if it was the actual LED or if it was the power supply. So basically, anything around 3.8 volts, half a watt to watt. I used the cool white. I don't know if different colors would work better. I don't know if I got a little bit brighter one, if that would put a better shadow down, making it brighter around where it is. So once I get this out in the sunlight, we'll see how well it works out there. So, but anyhow, once we got this all back together, it worked better than it did when I got it. So right now, it's got a real good, when I first got it, it never had a real bright shadow line. So I don't think that it was the best LED to begin with, but this was one of the very first ones that came out. So maybe they figured this out and, got that fixed. So if you like the way I sped through this video, let me know. I hate to sit there and waste people's time, but I'm just trying to get the information out there on how I fix this. So, I kind of fast forward most things, and that way you can actually see the process, but at the same time, it's not a 15-20 minute video. So, please put a comment down there. I'm not monetized. I don't have enough subscribers to get monetized, but, so if you think about it, hey, subscribe. But also, I put these videos out to help other people. So if it helps you, just throw me a comment. Let me know I'm doing some good. So I'll keep doing these. And until next time, thanks.